Let's get into it. Soul Not For Sale podcast. Coach Colin here. We got Sean Baker on the Joe Rogan Experience today. Now, Sean is a carnivore, right? Dr. Sean Baker is a carnivore. Joe Rogan's a carnivore. So they're talking a lot about that, but they're also talking about health in general. So I know a lot of the stuff that I cover tends to be world issues and things like that, but health, the health industry, you know, our personal health, you and I, that is a huge issue today. So they end up talking about a lot of different health stuff. And then one thing that Sean brings up is the body positivity movement. And that sent me down a rabbit hole. So after the Joe Rogan clip, I have a Piers Morgan clip for you where he actually speaks to one of these people and asks them why they do this whole thing. And then after that, I found a YouTuber who a lot of other YouTubers believe is eating himself to death. And I'm going to be showing you what he looked like at the beginning of his journey and what he looks like today. And it's absolutely astounding. Watch to the end to see that. And it's not in a good way. Let's start with the Joe Rogan clip first. Let's go.
And some Jello, like the crappy Jello.
Yeah, it's all bad for you. You don't get grass-fed steak.
No, not at all.
No, it's fiber. This is another thing that always comes up when I tell people that I eat only meat. What about fiber?
Yeah, so that's a good topic. And so what I would say is fiber is conditionally beneficial. So if you're eating a standard diet, yeah, you're going to eat. If you put fiber really is a marker for diet quality, right? So if I'm some poor guy and I'm eating these potato chips and cookies, I don't get a lot of fiber. If I got a little more money, I'm probably buying the fruits and vegetables, probably out of guilt. But it generally represents higher socioeconomic status, better overall diet quality. And I think it's beneficial in that situation. But if you go like, is it providing anything that I can't get from meat? So there was a study that a guy named Tommy Wood and the other researcher was Mailer. I can't remember her first name, it's female. They did a study looking at what happens to the microbiome, because we're always hearing, oh, you need fiber to feed your microbiome, right? You need those short chain fatty acids, you need the butyrate or the butyric acid. Well, they looked at that and they said, look, our gut has incredible metabolic flexibility. And so even in the absence of fiber, you can get the same short-chain fatty acids from protein. You can get it from being in a low-carb state where you have, more ketones being produced, because, the main ketone that's in our blood is called beta-hydroxybutyrate, which is very similar to butyric acid. It's only one, hydroxyl molecular weight. It reverses all the time. So they indicated that we don't need fiber for that particular aspect. And the other thing, there was a recent study, because I see so many autoimmune conditions. I know you've talked to Jordan and Michaela, and you've seen these crazy autoimmune conditions, which I've seen in the thousands now. It's crazy, like Crohn's disease, ulcerative colitis, psoriasis, rheumatoid arthritis, eczema, asthma, anything. That there was a study looking at fiber actually exacerbating problems with rheumatoid arthritis because of its interaction with a particular bacteria called Prevotella coprii, I think, or something like that. And so we're seeing, so high fiber diet synergizes and exacerbates rheumatoid arthritis. So basically, it's showing that, there can be problems with fiber for a lot of people, particularly if they have these issues. And so
when people say that fiber is beneficial, what they're essentially saying is that if you have a poor diet, if you have a diet that's rich in ultra-processed foods and garbage, fiber would be beneficial to you because it would help. What does it do? It helps. Well, I
think it's displacing the garbage off the plate, right? So if you load your plate up with fruits and vegetables, which I think generally, I'm not a guy that says vegetables are trying to kill you, and nobody. I know there's other people. It's kind of funny. You talk about cults, and carnivores kind of become a cult, right? And it's not because of me. I tell people, hey, we're omnivores. This is a therapeutic protocol. Use it for as long as you like. If you want to do it for a lifestyle, have at it. It's fine. I'm not gonna. But what I think was happening with fiber in a lot of ways, and because this fiber goes back to. What's the researcher's name? I'm blanking on his name. He had a cancer named after him. But anyway, from 1920s, 1930s, goes to Uganda in Africa and notices like, oh, these people aren't fat and sick like they are in England. And Dennis Burkett's the guy's name. And he says, well, they're eating a lot of fiber. But they weren't eating a lot of sugar, and they weren't eating a lot of garbage like they were in the UK, because sugar's been around since about the 1600s and progressively has increased. The US right now, it's kind of interesting, like compared to like the early 1800s, the average kid by the age of something like 8 has eaten more sugar than they would have in a lifetime back, 150 years ago. So it's kind of crazy.
By the time they're 8?
By the time they're 8 years old, the average 8-year-old has eaten more sugar than somebody would have eaten in their entire life. And that's just the normal kids. You see some of these kids are just like, I got a picture I got to show you. This is so incredible, Jamie. There's a gal before and after picture. We got this food addiction stuff. So I interviewed a gal. She was 800 pounds, right? It's like, how do you get to 800 pounds? It's like impossible. Like I don't think I could do it if I tried, right? Food addict, couldn't stop eating chocolate and ice cream and all that stuff. And this is her.
Whoa.
She's almost 800 pounds, or 350 kilos, which is the most I've ever deadlifted. So that's kind of an interesting weight. But 22 months she goes on carnivore, right? I interviewed her a while back, and she's now lost almost 500 pounds on carnivore when nothing else would work for her. I mean, she told me, it was like, I finally found the off switch. She tried Weight Watchers. She tried like gastric band surgery. She tried vegan diet. She tried juicing. She tried Weight Watch. She tried every single thing you could think of, but could never stop it. And finally, for the first time in her life, she's like, I finally found freedom from this food addiction. And, recent studies show that that other guy in the hat, this is a funny guy. This guy in the hat right there, his name is, what's his name? I'm blanking on it. Todd. He's a dude out in Montana, right? He was 770 pounds, right? Same sort of situation. Started drinking Cokes when he was 14 years old. I'm doing an interview and he goes, yeah, I didn't know who he was. And he starts telling me, he goes, yeah, when I was 14, I was 600 pounds. I'm like, what? 600 pounds at 14? It's like, how the hell can you get to 400 pounds? They're poor family, and his mom and sister and everybody in the family was, very obese, and they had tried gastric bypass and it didn't work for them. But same thing with this kid. I mean, he's just like, I call him a kid, he's 40. He went carnivore, and for the first time in his life, he's like, I don't need the sugar and I don't need the Coke. He was drinking like 20 Cokes a day or some ridiculous stuff. And he just blew up, and he could not stop and this is why, one of the reasons I think they know this. I mean, the food industry knows they're making addictive food. They clearly know that. In fact, I had a gal who worked for one of the major food manufacturing companies, and her job, she was a chemist, and her job was to design food to be as addictive as possible. And she literally told me that. She goes, I can no longer live with the guilt. I want to come work for you guys. And, she was just so just beside herself. She says she realizes what she's created with this epidemic of disease and suffering. I mean, because these people are suffering. Did you see that movie, The Whale? Did you ever see that movie?
I did not.
It's good. It's an interesting movie. So it's Brandon Fraser, and he's like 700-pound dude. And it shows he just lives in his he lives in his recliner. He can't barely get up. He can barely go to the bathroom. Refrigerator next to him, and his whole life is in. And this guy did the same thing. He said he fasted one time for 40 days trying to lose weight, and he never left his chair. He just sat there for 40 days and didn't eat.
Wow.
Can you imagine? That's like hell. That's like hell on earth. But now he's going back to work. He's getting out in the field, and he's doing like electrical work or something like that. But I mean, it's just the sugar. In one way, I know there's people out there saying, listen, not sugar's fine, it's all seed oils and stuff like that. But I think clearly there are people that are addicted to either sugar or sugary foods. It's like, because would you eat chocolate if there's no sugar in it? I mean, it's like, that 100% dark is kind of like, have you tried that?
It's kind of gross.
It is. It's like the only reason you eat that stuff because the sugar's in there. So people say, well, no one's mainlining bags of sugar. But I mean, I know people that have actually done that. I mean, it's kind of crazy. You see these people that are so addicted to this stuff. But
they mainline.
Well,
sugar?
I mean, they just eat it out of the bag. It's kind of like they're not shooting
like an IV.
They're not like heroin addicts. But I mean, they're like because there are people that say they'll do that if they can't get anything else. And
you just eat a bag of sugar.
They'll sit down. Well, the lethal dose for sugar is about like 5 pounds. If you sat down and ate a 5-pound bag of sugar, it would kill you. It would literally cause you to go into liver failure. So there is like an LD50 on sugar. So it is
over what time period?
Just like whatever, maybe a day or something like that. If you just sat down and ate, and some of these people, you see some of these. Have you seen they call them fat influencers, like these body positive? I mean, it's like influencers, but they're fat, right? And they're literally out there, and the processed food companies actually pay these guys, right?
They do?
Oh yeah, it's the same thing. They're getting kickbacks to promote all this unhealthy behavior and unhealthy food, and they're going through what I eat in a day, and it's like everything. It's like Doritos and cookies and Cokes and all the garbage that they're chowing down on. And we got this the body positivity movement is being funded by the processed food industry. I mean, if you didn't know that, I mean, it's like they've clearly shown directly. They're paying these people to do this. The other thing, processed food companies, they're paying dietitians on social media also to recommend processed foods. So it's just like it's clearly corrupt. I mean,
it's so dirty. It's such a dirty, but it's like a war against your health. And they're the enemy. They're the propagandists.
Well, and then they want to, you've seen this stuff. Like they come off to you, they say, oh, he's a racist or he's a right-wing fascist or something like it. Because you're like, I don't want to be sick and fat. Right. What I mean? That's what they come back and say. It's like there's some article like, working out is a right-wing conspiracy. Do you see that
yes.
stuff? It's like crazy.
Wild. It's wild because some people will read that, and people that are like extremely averse to being labeled right-wing or being labeled racist or xenophobic or whatever it is, they're terrified of those labels. They don't want that smoke. And so they see these things, and it does affect the way they view the world. Yeah. As ridiculous as it sounds. And maybe one article won't do it, but if you see enough of them over time, you will associate that activity with some sort of problematic label that could be put on you, which is incredible that we're so easily influenced.
Easily influenced. So this whole, I knew about people who were bigger and comfortable in their skin, but I didn't know it was like such a movement and that they were actually making articles like this, talking about how working out has origins in white supremacy and things of that nature. Like it's actually pretty wild. So when I was talking about, gluttonous social media stars who became filthy rich by binge eating in front of millions of people. And so when this guy says that they're getting paid, they are getting paid, and it's because it gets a lot of views. Them being comfortable in their bodies is a good thing. And that inspires other people to be like that too. But then when you couple it with all of a sudden they're binge eating and not caring about fitness, that starts to influence people in a very, very bad way. So here's a Piers Morgan clip really quick. He's talking to somebody who's actually an actor. His name's George Keywood, and he is one of these guys who is online. He is a plus size actor, plus size influencer, and he kind of glorifies the whole thing. And Piers kind of picks him apart, not going to lie. Let's get into it.
People shouldn't be celebrating being morbidly obese, in my estimation.
But that's
because actually it is a dangerous condition that causes many people to die.
Look, you've got a fair point. It is dangerous. It can lead to dangerous issues, which could, diabetes and so on. And that is an issue. But we don't encourage gaining weight. There's a difference between the videos you just showed on the screen
Come
and
off,
what we're
George,
talking about now.
You're doing this.
'cause
These TikToks are all geared to you.
No. You're showing people encouraging eating food. I'm just saying, wow, look at the pizza. Look, it's from Costco. It's nice.
No, you're not. You're not.
That's what I'm doing.
Sorry, George.
That's what I'm doing.
You are glorifying
scoffing. It's called taking the piss. That's what it is.
Well, maybe.
That's what it is. It's having a laugh and not taking yourself too seriously.
Why is it funny?
Because it is funny. You know it is funny.
It's
you had a
not
little
funny.
smoke yourself before.
I actually don't find this kind of thing funny. I think
come on.
I actually think it's quite sad.
It's not sad. It's comedy.
Let me bring in.
It's satire comedy.
Well, maybe.
You know it is. You know it is, Piers. I've been an actor for 13 years.
George,
damn right I know how this industry works.
George, I'll come back to you in a moment.
Come on.
Let me just go to Blair White in Austin, in Texas. Blair, I do have a problem with this because I think it's celebrating a dangerous health condition. And if you're an influencer, why would you want to influence people to think that that is A, funny, entertaining, and B, something they want to do?
Well, you should have an issue with it. My opinion is that the fat positivity movement is a death cult. I'm all about living my life on my own terms, being happy, finding a partner that makes me happy. But, life is short, so you have to find happiness. But what cuts it in half is being obese. Your life will literally end halfway of the length that you would live being obese. And so promoting it, you wouldn't be able to be anorexic on TikTok and not get comments about how you need to eat a cheeseburger, how you need to gain weight. And you can write it off as trolls, but it's the truth. I've seen some TikToks made by him where he is addressing people telling him that he needs to lose weight as trolls and sort of making fun of it. And I just wonder, is it really trolls? Certainly there are mean people on the internet, but there is some truth to it. I know that he is a father, and the idea that you will, in all likelihood, in all certainty, actually not live past 50, 60 years old is an issue. So for me, okay.
Yeah, I know. I hear you. I know, that's my view. I want to bring in Sienna, your wife. You've been listening to this.
Yeah.
Are you comfortable completely? When you see the statistics about obesity in this country, the cost to the NHS, what it costs the country,
yeah.
Are you comfortable about this?
The way I see it is, firstly, just us personally, we have private healthcare, so the NHS isn't a thing for us. I do understand that it is costing the NHS a lot. I think it's a bigger problem to address, though. I think it's about educating people when they're young to make healthy food choices. I think a lot of the time when you grow up in poverty, like George and I have, a lot of the time you don't have the healthiest options.
Yeah, but my response to that would be,
yeah.
Okay, but you've managed not to end up as George has weight-wise. I don't mean to denigrate you, George.
I'm just saying genetics, though, couldn't it?
No, it's not.
It could be enough.
What it is,
I don't think it's genetics, is it?
No, I believe it's because my parents were like cool hippie vegetarians, whereas George's were not.
But are you comfortable? You've got a son, right? Are you comfortable about his current weight? Do you think when he does this stuff on TikTok, are you really laughing or are you concerned about him?
I'm concerned not so much about his weight, but more about his well-being, and
Well, the two go hand in hand.
Sienna, you definitely glorify it, Sienna, and you guys post videos where you're juggling his fat and you talk about how attractive it is. And for me, when I look for a romantic partner,
we all knows what gets
I look for someone that would make me a better version of myself.
Well, yeah, but George.
So he's basically what Blair is saying there. Blair is a trans influencer. That's what she meant by, likes to live on her own terms because she understands, not being comfortable in your skin or learning how to be comfortable in your skin, all that stuff. But later on in this clip, I don't want to play the whole thing, but later on in this clip, they kind of reveal that he's making $100,000 a year. And so it kind of goes along with, what a lot of people say. There's no incentive for this person to lose weight. And it goes along with what Sean Baker was saying about how, this influencer space, if you can call it that, it's kind of not good for people. I don't know. It's wild to me because I do come from a background where I was like 350 pounds at one point. I was like really big, really, really big, no muscle, nothing like that. And I had to lose weight. My mom was a bodybuilder, so I was lucky. We did grow up very poor. I had to eat corned beef and rice every single day. But I still managed to get really fat when I started making my own money and stuff, and I lost the weight. And I don't know. I'd rather glorify stuff like that. Now, getting to this YouTuber. This is the YouTuber I was talking about. This gentleman's name is Nikocado Avocado. I don't know if I can play his videos, so I just want to show you a still of him. He is known for making binge eating videos. He is one of these people that gets paid an exorbitant amount of money. And when he first started, he looked like this and he wasn't getting paid so much. And then he started doing videos where he ate a whole bunch and people were impressed and he would get a lot of views, and that turned into a lot of money. And it slowly, after years, turned into him being like this. It's a wild progression. He has a sleep apnea machine now. He has had to go to the hospital. There was reading an article where he had 3 broken ribs, and it was because he was forcibly coughing all the time because of, all the weight that he's gained. It's getting very dangerous, and it's not even a laughing matter. There have been multiple big YouTubers that have made videos about this guy, not to make fun of him, but as like pleas, as a plea to please stop what you're doing. Please stop it. But for him, for this gentleman, he's amassed 3.7 million subscribers on YouTube, and there's no incentive for him to stop. I see some of his videos. This video that I'm on right now has 3.1 million views. He's making 12 million views, he's making at least $1 million a year. He's a millionaire because of this. So there's no incentive for him to stop. When people write these articles, they're not writing these articles maliciously about this guy. There's so many people who are worried about him because if he ends up passing away, everybody's going to be upset. You see, that's what he looked like as he started gaining weight. This is what he looked like before. He was a musician. And, he has his whole love story. He is LGBTQ. And then one day he was a vegan. He's like, I think I'm going to stop. And then he just started making these videos where, you're seeing him just kind of go a little nuts, eating crazy food, shaving his head, having these crazy breakdowns, eating massive amounts of food all the time. These are the influencers that Sean Baker is talking about. I was actually reading a bunch of articles while researching this, and he was the number one body positivity influencer that came up, saying that brands should work with this gentleman. And understand completely, he more than likely gets paid by the brands that he ends up eating. There's a reason that it's presented the way it is right now. As you can see the logo in the corner. Like, this is his video. You see the logo in the corner. You see the food set up real nice, showing all the logos and everything. So it's a wild rabbit hole of YouTube. And there's a lot of videos of him crying. He's really upset. He had a husband. He broke up with his husband. It's wild. It's wild to see. And even I'm worried about the guy. This would be terrible. Look, he has this machine that he's hooked up to a lot. Like, it's wild. It's wild. And the last thing I'll show you guys is the opposite type of story, which is Adele. Adele, the singer. She actually lost weight, and fans, body positivity fans, as you can see right there, got really angry that she ended up like this. She had an astounding weight loss journey. Like, she doesn't even look like she was big at any point in her life, but she was. She was like this at one point, and then she lost weight, and now she's like this. She's literally like a supermodel all of a sudden. And they were really angry. So when that Blair girl says that this is like a cult of some kind, it really is. They got really upset. But yet they this behavior they praise. this behavior they demonize. It's really, really wild to see. I didn't know how crazy it was until I did this video, but definitely think about it. Think about the things you're seeing. That's all I can say. I'm sure none of you have been taken in by these type of influencers, but they do exist out there. And if you have children or if you have people in your life, make sure, I won't say make sure they're not watching them, but, you know, try and balance it with some positive things, and don't be taken in by exercise is some kind of meat-headed thing to do, or a right-wing conspiracy or white supremacist type of thing. Don't get taken in by that type of stuff. You know, that one fact that Sean Baker said about an 8-year-old eating as much sugar, 8-year-olds today eating as much sugar as somebody in their whole lifetime, that's remarkable. And then also to think about the carnivore diet, it's not for everybody. I've tried it once. I could only last 30 days. I did a keto diet for about a year. I dropped 70 pounds. That was pretty amazing. And I had great energy. It was a really fun ride. It's just really hard to keep up. And then you get really worried about just eating meat all the time. It kind of messes with your head a little bit. But if you have autoimmune diseases and this and that, it's like, it definitely is a corrective type of thing. I couldn't understand anybody that would just do it ongoing forever, but it could definitely correct you, because then you're eating just one thing and then you can start adding in things that you like that are healthy. So that's what I did with it. I went from just eating meat, and then when I saw, okay, this meat does well, because I have a lot of gut issues. I had a lot of autoimmune disease as well, and it went away for the most part. It was actually just like some gut issues, leaky gut. But my father had colitis. I have this stuff in my family. So for me, it was very therapeutic in the sense of, I was like, okay, so I don't like rice doesn't agree with me. Okay, I'll add quinoa. Okay, quinoa is good. Okay, I'll add avocado. Okay, avocado is great. And then I just started like kind of building meals around that. So definitely not medical advice or fitness advice or anything like that. But that's just what I did. And, you know, wild. Nikocado Avocado. If you want to actually look this guy up, look up his videos. Nikocado Avocado. It is something else. And there are a lot of people who click and like and subscribe. And again, a lot of people are worried. So anyway, I will just end with this. We got IamCoachColin.com. We got the Soul Not For Sale shirts, mugs, t-shirts, tank tops. We got the new Soul Not For Sale design. We also got Keep Calm and Do Not Comply. We got shirts, hoodies, tank tops of that. We also got mainstream news, brainwashing citizens. We got all of that. We also got the We the People shirt. That's a great one. We got the presidential mugshot. That's a great one. We got the certified pure blood shirt. And we have at the bottom here, Public Enemy #1. And we all know who that gentleman is. All right. So if you want a discount on that, it is I Am Coach Colin, all capital letters, all one word, one L in the name, Colin. And other than that, like, subscribe. I am out.